a Sapphire Running Zone podcast.
Hi everyone, this is Tim from the Sapphire Running Zone. Welcome to another of our Runner Stories podcasts. And today we're delighted to welcome Mary from Edinburgh, and Mary is running the 2026 London Marathon for BackCare. So welcome, Mary, and tell us your story, how you've arrived in this position.
Hi, thanks for having me on. About 2019, I signed up to get a charity place with BackCare UK to run the 2020 London Marathon. 2020, obviously, it was a year that a lot of things did not take place, and so ever since then, a series of sort of injuries and illness meant that I have rolled over my charity place for the last sort of 4 or 5 years. I've been very grateful to BackCare for their being flexible in that. Absolutely determined that 2026 is now going to be the year that I will achieve my goal of running my first marathon, a London Marathon, and giving back to BackCare for all the sort of good work that they've done and the support they've given me.
So why did you want to do London Marathon in the first place, and why the BackCare Charity?
So I've always enjoyed watching athletics, watching running events, and trying to sort of get inspired by the people taking part, both the athletes and sort of people like me in the public. And so grew up watching the London Marathon and seeing the atmosphere, the volume, I think, of people doing it. In some ways felt could be a bit daunting, but also felt like you would always be really supported at London. I also, if I'm honest, think I may just do one marathon. If I do one marathon, why not try and make it London? BackCare UK, a lot of the injuries or sort of pains that I've had over the last few years have been related to my back and neck and shoulders, and that's impacted on my ability to consistently run. So when I was looking at sort of charities that I wanted to support, I think BackCare, it's probably not something that people, it's not seen as often as sort of serious, or you've got back pain, and everyone knows somebody who's either they've either got it themselves, or they know somebody who's had back pain, and it can just be so debilitating. And I think I had a particularly bad sort of 6 months of really debilitating back pain. I've never felt pain like it. And I think that there's so much support that BackCare can give, information, and just raising awareness of the impacts that back pain and sort of other joint pain can have. So yeah, that was sort of my personal experience of back pain. Family and friends that have had it and suffered from it, the good work that BackCare are doing in that area.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it was about 5 years ago. I woke up one morning. I'd had a few twinges, and I woke up one morning and I thought, I can't actually move at all. And I said to my wife, "You're going to have to ring the physio, because I cannot physically move. There is no way that I can actually get out of the bed." And she went, "What do you mean? You look absolutely fine." I said, "Yeah, that's the problem." And this is one of the issues, obviously, with back issues, isn't it? So I had the physio luckily they were available, and they actually had to come out and to me in the bed and lift me out of the bed. And I think at that point I had, much greater awareness of some of the issues that people have with backs, and I took a lot more care from that point. But it's great that you're doing this, and I think the more awareness that can be raised, the better, because it is not a trivial issue at all, is it?
No, absolutely. And it's when my pain was at its worst, I sort of was trying to stop people from trying to make me laugh. If I felt a sneeze coming on, it was sort of like bracing myself for like severe pain just with any movement, and you do take it for granted when you don't have that, I think. Yes, I also managed to break around about the same time break my coccyx. So I had about 2 years of again just yeah, slipping on a train and uh, sort of smashing my back into the seat rest, the armrest. Yeah, so it was thankfully, touch wood, that is now cleared up. But there's nothing you can do other than to manage the pain uh, and sort of deal with it. So between that, it's I think it's a very a cause that needs to be highlighted.
Yeah, without a doubt. And that we'll come on and talk a little bit more about the fundraising later on, but that will no doubt help you hugely with your fundraising because you've got personal issues there that you've dealt with and are dealing with. And that helps hugely when it comes to fundraising. Having a relationship with the cause is so important. So where are you with your training at the moment then?
So I'm at the point where I'm feeling more comfortable at being consistently running sort of 5K amounts. Still not finding it particularly easy, especially in the heat we've been having. I think it's anything too cold and anything too hot. I struggle, so I'm a bit sort of Goldilocks runner, but it is getting a bit easier, and the consistency is getting a little bit, or is helping to motivate me to get out the easier, the sort of more comfortable I feel. So I've been consistently doing park run, so my local park run, and looking to the next steps. In terms of, I'm also signed up to the Great North Run, which has been rolled over a few times, shall we say, as well. So yeah, looking towards sort of building up that mileage and doing it in a way that avoids the injuries and the niggles and the pains that have sort of put my progress back in the past. So trying to build my resilience to get those longer miles in.
Good. Well, there's 4 key principles of training, and one of those is progression, and it's about just adding a little bit, each week and just building up slowly. So I think because you've got so much time before the marathon, that's a blessing, obviously. To get your entry confirmed this early is fantastic. So you're under no pressure when it comes to your mileage. You can just build up nice and slowly. So the Great North Run's end of September, isn't it?
Yes,
So you've got plenty of time again for that. And then pretty much once you've done that, then it's a case of getting your marathon training plan sorted out, sort of 20-week marathon plan, and you should be fine. But again, it is absolutely about slowly but surely, and about getting the long run sorted at the weekend and gradually building that up. What's it like where you live then? Is it nice and hilly, or is it reasonably flat?
Well, Edinburgh, they always say it's you're always going up a hill, sort of like a Escher painting or something. But where I'm near, it's quite there are some quite nice sort of flat routes. There's some nice coastal sort of near Portobello in Edinburgh, so some nice coastal routes, and East Lothian as well for the longer, sort of going out to longer runs. There's the Scottish, I think the Scottish half, or one of these sort of bill themselves as the flattest marathon or half marathon. So I think there's opportunities to mix it up as well. Though we have Arthur's Seat, which does have a park run. I haven't yet ventured to that one, but it's a hilly route. So a good mixture, I'd say, of terrains that you can.
And I think for you, getting a nice selection of routes ready for your long runs is really important, because you'll be going 10 miles, 11 miles, 12 miles, 13 miles, and gradually adding a mile on every week to that long run. And it's really important that you've got a bit of variety, because it can, running can get a little bit boring if you're just doing the same route and adding a mile on every week. It's nice to do different,
Absolutely.
different routes, because you've got to try and keep it as fresh as you possibly can. And this is one of the things where people do go, God, this is just it's the same thing every weekend. It's nice to mix it up. What other events have you got in mind as you go through this sort of marathon journey up to April next year? Have you thought about doing some others? Because it is nice to, again, keep it fresh by doing some events as you go, and particularly big ones. I mean, obviously you can't get much bigger than the Great North Run, but if you've got some other ones, it's useful.
Yes, absolutely. When I'd been planning to run London this year in 2025, my husband also runs, is less sort of motivated by races, and so it just goes out for fun. So emulate him. We booked. We actually went to travel to do a half marathon in Malta, which gave would have given a real sort of motivation to keep the training going. Unfortunately, I then had to downgrade, as it were, to the 5K. But it still kept me sort of running, even the shorter distances at that point, having something in mind. But I did Malta, and we've done Lisbon half marathon back in a few years ago as well. And then ones, less exotic, and sort of Glasgow 10Ks and halves. And I do find having that a sort of target of a quite motivating, and I would definitely be looking to see what's on offer at the various points over the months.
Yeah, I think it's great, and doing overseas ones is fantastic. I talked to someone the other day who'd done that Malta race, and that is a nice one. I think if you're able to do something January, February time in a sunny climate, that is a really nice thing to do, because it just breaks up that long winter slog and just gives you, like you said, it just gives you a target, doesn't it, and a focus,
Absolutely.
which I think is really key. So when did you pull out of the London 25 event then?
I did have give quite a lot of notice, because I was very aware of the sort of pressure on places and the people sort of waiting in the wings. That, oh gosh, I think it was probably at the end of 2024. So around about that time. So I'd still at that point hoped to sort of been able to get up to half marathon stage by the February, but it wasn't happening. But I think I'd highlighted early on, I think that it was looking unlikely. And I thought that taking that pressure off, and being able to have a much longer time to build up was the way to go.
Yeah,
and focus on 2026.
Yeah, no one needs the pressure, do they? If you know things are not quite there, and obviously with running on a charity entry, you've got not double
Yes.
pressure exactly, but you've got two things to worry about. You've got the training to worry about, and you've got the fundraising, and so you've got a little bit of fundraising already in the bank, as it were. Then
I think there's a reasonably small amount from one of my rollovers that's sort of being banked, but the more I can raise, obviously, the better. So aiming, yes, sort of. Obviously, there's a minimum amount, but aiming for more than that, if at all possible.
Yeah, and the earlier you can start, the better. And the fact that you've got your entry confirmed this early is so good, because that busy period comes in, sort of February to April, where everybody is sending the messages around on social media for support, and it does get a bit congested in that space at that time. So the fact that you're able to get started early is really important. So what have you got in mind then in terms of how you're going to tackle the fundraising?
So myself and my husband are quite keen pub quizzers. We do a quiz in a league every week. Not always successfully, but we enjoy it. So I've been thinking about a sort of a pub quiz, a quiz event that people can get involved and pay money to come to or enter, but also include raffles and sort of other fun sort of on the spot prizes, things like that, and sort of get our friend group involved, and but also friends of friends and people that wouldn't necessarily, that would enjoy a pub quiz, even if they wouldn't be looking to sponsor necessarily, but would enjoy sort of coming along to a pub quiz generally. So.
Yeah, and I think there are opportunities to incorporate other things within that. I mean, you touched on the raffle, and then there's potentially the auction, obviously. And it is a case of talking to businesses nice and early about whether people will support you with prizes and so on. You don't, yes, you can buy some prizes yourself, but you want to try and avoid that if possible. And, some of the podcasts that we've done with others, it's amazing how supportive businesses can be. Yes, they can be inundated, but they can be inundated particularly if you leave it late. If you do it nice and early, then there's probably not that many people at the moment asking them for support for the London Marathon. There might be plenty of things other people are going to them with, but if you can talk to business about, what can they do for you and how can they support you with some prizes, but an individual approach, not just a sort of blanket email to everyone, just targeting some people. I mean, you'll know people who have got businesses, and you're not asking them for, a 4-night hotel stay in the middle of Edinburgh with food and drink. You just ask, could you do something? What can you do? And you'd be amazed. People want to help, particularly if it's an issue that you've had challenges with. So if you make it clear what the cause you're running for, and how it's impacted on your life, and chances are that people will support you. And if you're able to do a pub quiz with a raffle integrated into it, and if you get 2 or 3 brilliant prizes, then put an auction in there as well. And I'm not saying you'll raise all that money in one night, but you'll be surprised. You'll do better than you think. And it might be that you do a trio of pub quiz nights or something, and you make a little series of it and have a little raffle each time. And it's about giving back. I think there's so much pressure on people at the moment financially that to be able to give people a cracking night out or two for not a lot of money, people don't mind doing that, do they? I think that's
absolutely. And it's something that it's sort of, my friends have been fundraising, and I'll go along to their events, and it doesn't feel like it's not a burden, or it's like you enjoy going along and you enjoy giving something back to them. So I think hopefully the same can be, and I just say it's not, I feel not thinking of it as maybe one big sort of event, but a few things that could add up quite nicely.
That's important. I mean, you still do your social media shout outs and stuff, but just use this as you could use this as the heart of what you're doing, but with other top ups. I think it's really important to have a mixture of stuff. But what we've talked about with others is the need to make sure that you don't have too much cost associated with any event that you're putting on. We've done other podcasts with people who have done big charity night functions, but they've had a singer or a band, and they've ended up having to spend £400 on a band. And you just think by the time you finish, the risk of not selling enough tickets to cover even the cost of that's not the kind of thing you want to get into. Whereas if you've got a format, something that you're used to doing, you're used to going to these things, they work, don't you? And you don't need to spend huge amounts of money on this stuff. But I would absolutely recommend doing one as almost, in the summer at some point. People are happy to go out this time of year, particularly, aren't they?
Absolutely. And it's far enough away from Christmas that people still have they're not still have a bit more cash perhaps. And I think the danger of sort of November, December can be there's so many other nights out and events and pressures in that way. So absolutely thinking about it.
So
how many for the last part of this year?
How many people normally go to these pub quizzes that you attend?
There's goodness, there's probably about 13 teams or so, 12, 13 teams a night, and it can vary in from sort of 2, 3, 4 people to frankly, teams that should be banned that have like 10 and 12 people.
Wow, really?
Yes, I think that's definitely an unfair advantage, but it can vary. We're sort of in between. There's about 6, 7 of us at most.
Wow,
but,
so you could get 50, 60, 70 people attending on a night.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow,
Absolutely.
that is a great opportunity. And don't forget to get a QR code as well and put those on tables and stuff, because they just make fundraising so much easier when you've got quick access to your page.
Absolutely. Yes, I need to remember to embrace sort of technology
Well,
around it.
things have changed so much over the last even 3 or 4 years. It's just, if you get your fundraising right, it's so much easier than it used to be. If you just, the people that struggle, I think, are the people that just go, oh, I'll just send a message to everyone and it'll be fine, and I'll send a link to my fundraising page and everything will be okay. Well, yeah, it might be for some people, but it's not like that for everyone. And you've got to work at it a little bit. And the fact you've got your entry so early means that you've got time to think about it. The only problem with getting it too early is that you have almost too much time to think about it. And you go, oh yeah, I've got loads of time, I'll worry about that another day. But actually, if you can tick some fundraising off nice and early, it does give you that confidence as well. And it's a great motivator, because you're doing it for other people. You're doing it for a charity, and it just pushes you along a little bit. So apart from a pub quiz, what do the next couple of months look like for you then?
So in terms of the training, I feel I've got Great North Run in September to sort of aim to get to that halfway distance, and to feel much more comfortable. That is the longest distance I've ever. I've done about 4 half marathons in a few years ago now, when I was definitely sort of fitter and slimmer, and felt more comfortable with the running. So getting back to that sort of feeling of enjoyment for longer distances is where I'm hoping to be. And I still remember, I sort of have in my mind this sense of it probably was 2018 when I was training for my first half marathon, and just remember feeling really happy that I was going out for a run, and just I don't know if it's that the runner's high that they talk about, and but just really looking forward to this 11-mile training run, which at the minute feels quite a distant memory, but it definitely happened, and it was I want to get back to that sort of sense of enjoyment of it.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, and that does happen, and it will happen again. And I think for you to be doing a half marathon is a really good thing, because the thing with marathon training is it can feel so far. You've got to break it down. With any goal, really, you've got to break it down into sort of sub goals, and thinking about the half is absolutely the way to start. That is your next goal, and break your training down into chunks. And then when you've done that, then you can move your thought process then to the next one. So it's almost like you don't even think too much about London next year. Your goal is Newcastle in September, and that's what you've got to be focused on. But you will get that runner's high again, and it doesn't take that long, to be honest. I mean, it can be a few runs, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm enjoying this again, and then the idea of looking forward to an 11-mile training run, it's not something that people can really think about at the start, but it definitely won't be long before you'll be there for sure. Great stuff.
That's reassuring. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, really appreciate you coming on, and be great to do another one with you after you've done Great North, and you can tell us how incredible that was.
That sounds great. I've been a spectator at it before, and again, it's just standing there going, I want to be running this. Oh yes, hopefully I'll feel that way at the end.
Yeah, I mean, massive event, obviously, and more than 50,000 people. It's a huge event. Great to be part of something that size, and that will prepare you brilliantly for London, because a lot of people do the London Marathon as their first event, and it's just overpowering when you're in the middle of all those people. Whereas for you, you'll have that experience of, I've been part of something as big as this before, and that's really important. So thanks for coming on, and look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks for listening to this Sapphire Running Zone podcast. Keep checking back, as we have lots more podcasts coming soon.
If you too would like to join Team BackCare, my details are in the podcast description.